So the binomial theorem, which gives the expansion of a plus b to the k, was known to Chinese mathematicians for centuries before Newton came along. When Newton came along, he was 22 years old. It was 1655, and he discovered the infinite series expansion for the case when k is a positive fraction or a negative fraction. And so what does this have anything to do with anything? Well, if a plus b is a fraction like this, now this is, if you know anything about math, this is just like taking a root. So now you could take the root, whether that's the square root or you can take the limit as k approaches infinity, that would be the infinite root of a plus b, and that would give you a monad. That would give you 1. When you take the infinite root of something, that's like taking it to the power of 0, which is the same as giving you 1. And the beauty of this, the magic of this, is that Newton discovered how to represent this as an infinite series. How to represent that binomial expansion for the case when this was a fraction through an infinite series. And he did so by just observing patterns and interpolating. He came at it from a very indirect route, which he detailed in his letter to Leibniz. So they were in complete nemesis. The relationship wasn't always of a sort of hatred for each other. That came later, I guess. But he sent a letter in which he described how he came up with this. And it turns out he was working on something like kind of different. So he was working on something like this, where you had this, and then he was just looking at it, and obviously when it's even, it's easy, it's trivial, because you get an even thing here, and you don't have a fraction. You have 2 over 2 gives you 1, 4 over 2 gives you 2, and so on. 6 over 2 is going to give you 3. But in the case when you have an odd, now he needed to guess. And just through looking at the patterns and guessing, he was able to actually come up with the infinite series expansion, and then generalized it to all cases like this. So I say all of this in the context of constructor theory, David Deutsch's constructor theory, and eternalism. So it seems like there is a mismatch between these two. How could you both have an eternal object and yet have infinite creation of new knowledge? It seems absolutely paradoxical. Either one is true or the other is true. But actually, as in mathematics, you could have a different different expression that looks completely different for the exact same thing. So don't think that everything that has already happened has already happened, so therefore there is no infinite creation of new knowledge. And also don't think that eternalism is wrong because there's an infinite creation of new knowledge. Actually, both can be true.